All right, g'day guys. Just a reminder that there's three things you need to do. One is to make sure that you click that you're present. Two, make sure you're participating in Zoom the entire time, and I can see the participants there or not. I'll be asking questions, so make sure that you're not just there, but you're answering things when I call out your name. And the third thing too is completing the classwork. All right, so what we're looking at today, let me share screen. All right, so on here, and I'm just going to try and give myself some room. If we take a look up here, you've had two sets of short answers shared with you with the marking criteria. So I want us to go into the one that says QATS Google Doc 2014. All right, if you can't find that, then just let me know in chat. So get that open for me nice and quick. And then Johnny's already answered the first one and got a head start. But basically, we're going to do one question at a time, right? So when we go through the answer, I want you guys to be paying attention and listening, not just doing other questions, all right? Because we're not just doing your own answers. We're looking at this and I'm critiquing it. And while I'm doing that, I also want you guys to think, right, you're the marker. We're all marking Johnny's. What mark would you give him out of 3? What is he missing? What would you do differently? Yeah. All right. So can you guys please write in chat why, if you're able to get yourself to this particular page? All right. And if you can't find this page. And once again, guys, I want to see all Y's or all N's. All right, that's good. All right, so we'll start with Johnny's, but everybody now, let's have a look at what we're doing. First question is describe. So what's that directive term to start with? Also, look here for the mark allocation. And I don't think there's lines in this, but there's lines obviously in the HSC. You look at those three things to think how much you need to answer. All right. So with the lines too, you need to fill out all of the lines, unless it's an identifier, with an extra 1 or 2 lines generally on there. So if it's a 4 marker and there's 5 lines, I want you at least writing 6 lines. Okay. Now, describe is characteristics and features. So it needs more detail than what an outline question does. Okay, and certainly more than a defined question. So describe how legal regulations, that's the laws, would influence operations of a business. So for starters, when you're looking at short answer, if something has got a question, you're not quite sure which business function it is pretty obvious. Then look at the next question. Like see here, explain how Gantt charts are used in business. If you're not quite sure which business function that is, let's say this was the first question, look at the second and the third question to find out, because each of these questions, 21, these are all only operations questions. Yeah. So explain to applications of technology in the production of a product. If you didn't know that was operations, just scan through and go, no, I don't know which business function it is. Yeah, it's operations. Cool. So the only time it can be something else is interdependence. Now, it's not always operations first. Next one, which business function is this? I'm not quite sure. Not quite sure. Advertising art. Now I know this whole set of questions, they're all going to be marketing. It's the same in the trial. It's the same in the HSC. Yeah. All right. So looking at this one here, guys, this one here is saying, right, we're looking at the operations business function. We're looking at the subtopic of influences, and we're describing legal regulations. So it's from that section. So how do laws influence operations of a business? All right. I want everybody now, give you about a minute or two, go and answer that question. So minimize this, go and answer your question, and then we'll go through and look at Johnny's and critique his so that you can fix and add stuff to yours. Are there any questions? And if you're not sure, guys, then please ask straight away on chat. If you can't find the documents, ask straight away on chat. All right, once you're done, just say done in the chat so I get a bit of an idea, because I want to get through these as quick as possible, but I want to make sure we've got good, detailed answers. All right, we're not just doing the bare minimum today. So just the first one. All right, guys, stop what you're doing for the moment. Minimize your screen and get back into Zoom so you can see Johnny's screen here. I'll choose different students each time. So I'll come back to this one now. So let's have a look at what he's got here. Legal regulations is an operations management influence that refers to the laws and regulations the business must comply with. Right, that's kind of like the definition of it. Good. I don't know if I'd change that too much. Always try and get your definitions from BSIA, but I think that's pretty good. Yeah. It is an influence because these regulations help shape business practices and procedures, and businesses are at risk of penalties. Yeah, good. Now, examples of influence of this include work health and safety. Yep. Now, even if you can do even better, if you know the actual date of the legislation, that's good. When handling machinery, work is required to appropriately trained in safety, use protective equipment. Good. Now, you've also got here fair work and anti-discrimination laws. Yep. Now, keep in mind the topic here is operations. So it's fine to say this because we're talking here about using protective equipment. We're talking about the HR, I guess, part of operations, the workers being there to make the product. The other thing that I might have said is that businesses need to comply with the Clean Air Act. That's another piece of legislation. So in order to get 3 marks here, I would have liked to see this, workplace health and safety. And I'd want another piece of legislation, I reckon. So the only thing, I'd probably give you 3, Johnny, because you've said anti-discrimination laws, but I'd like the name of 2 specific pieces of legislation in future. But for this particular one here, can I even comment? 3 out of 3. Okay, I think it's got each of the things. Now, if I go to the marking criteria, you need some legislation, it said there. And look at this, it says provide characteristics and how they would influence operations. It says here recognise and names 1 legislation. So in order to be able to get 2 or 3, you'd need 2 legislations, all right, at least. So workplace health and safety and also Clean Air Act, because when you're making a product, you need to make sure that you're not creating toxic gases and fumes, or else that's against the operational regulations. So you were sort of 2 or 3 a bit, probably 3 to be honest, yeah? Okay. All right, guys, can we now go on? Are there any questions, by the way? Please do ask questions if you're not sure. All right, guys, can we go on and do the next one? Explain how Gantt charts are used in this business. Okay. Now I'm going to get out of Johnny's one and I'll pick somebody else. So I'm not saying who I'm picking yet. So each of you do your second answer. And when you're done, can you please type done in chat? And nice and quick, because we want to get through all of these questions. I don't think it matters too much, Anina, in terms of is there's a way to set it out. But what you've got there, definition and an example and explain. Keep in mind, if there is a scenario, I want you to really refer back to that scenario. Yeah, there is often a scenario that's there. So maybe a definition. And we're talking about describe because everyone's different. Discuss is talking about what you mentioned, but also you need to talk about what are the pros and or cons. Yeah. Evaluate is different to what you've got there because you need to say is it good or bad and use a criteria. Yeah. So for a describe, or what you've got there is really good. Define, example, explain, but make sure we're linking it back to the scenario if there is one. Yeah. All right, again, guys, once you've got that second one done, please say done. And I'm more likely to pick somebody who doesn't tell me they're done. So once again, with that first question, make sure that you go and update what you've written based on what we said. Now we'll go through the second one. Explain how Gantt charts are used by the business. Look, I'm not sure if Alice has finished yet, but try and be nice and quick with it, guys. To start with, just looking at the length there, I don't think you're getting 3. All right. If you take a look at what you wrote there, it's just a bit extra. And it's certainly not about how much you write. But if you don't write enough, then you don't have enough information to explain your answer properly. Yeah. It's like identifying something and doing it beautifully and saying, well, why can't I get full marks for and explain it? It's just not enough information to explain it. Yeah. So, and you may not have finished, Alice, but we've got to keep moving on. Explain how Gantt charts are used in a business. So I want you guys to first define a Gantt chart. Gantt charts are a useful tool for a business to sequence and schedule its operations. And I'm glad I'm hearing both of those things in there. That's really good. It records the tasks required to complete it and the estimated time. Good. So I like that as well. So this is just a definition so far, and a very good definition. Within a business, the operations manager is able to clearly visualize the task, plan, process accordingly. Good. Now, there is no scenario above. There often is. If there are, I want you using the name of the business for every question that's at least 3 and to use it through that scenario. Now let's see what you've got written after this. Within a business, the operations manager is able to clearly visualize the task and plan accordingly. Good. So the questions and explain. Why do you want to use Gantt charts? So you're sort of being able to do this a little bit. This first bit's not. It's just a definition. Within a business, the operations manager is able to clearly visualize the task and plan accordingly. Let me see if I can edit this. So in order, sorry, let me go and change that again. By out its activities to make sure that they are finished earlier. And I think I'd even add to this, guys, meeting or resulting, less lead time, and increasing the speed of the project. All right, now I'm not saying this is perfect, and I can't even spell gantt. I teach business studies. All right, but does that give you guys some idea? So if we go to the marking criteria, relate cause and effect. So Alice, you'd started on that. Yeah, but you were provides why and how Gantt charts. You probably didn't get a chance to finish it, but you were more a 2. I think you were more than this. So I probably would have just given you 2, but see all the additional things that I wrote there, and I even measured it a little bit. That's the 3, okay? So if I go back to your work here, I probably would say, probably, to be honest, 2 out of 3, okay? And this is where we're at. Our class is good at getting the 2s out of 3s, good at getting the 4s out of 5s, maybe the 4s out of 6s. But as a group, we're not so good at getting those top marks. When the marker reads your answer, they've got to kind of be blown away. They've got to basically say to themselves, right, where can I take marks off? I want to, because they're looking at that at the top end. I really can't. This is really top notch. Yeah. Okay. So lots of good things in there, but not 3 out of 3. All right. Let's go on to the next question. And I'll answer the chat up there in a sec. Explain 2 applications of technology in the production of a product. All right, guys, have a go at that one for me now, please. I'm going to choose someone else. Explain 2 applications of technology when you make a product. How can they be used? How can they be applied? All right, off you go. At the moment, I'm working my way through the names, but I won't necessarily. I'm going to mix it up a bit. So assume you're next in terms of having the question asked. Jen, I don't think yours is plugged in. It's not plugged in. I can hear it. Okay. Yep. So, and this is good. It's not good that we don't know how to answer what the question's about, but that's why for all your subjects, you need to make sure that you are really looking at these questions, because you know the content. If you don't get what questions mean, you're going to find it difficult. So let's have a look at the question here. You minimize that. So explain the application of technology in the production of a product. So it's saying, where do businesses use technology in making a product? So we think back at making a car. Did they use technology back, 70 years ago? Not so much. Okay, but these days, do they use technology when making a car? Certainly. There's 2 main types of technology they would use. They'd use manufacturing-based technology and office-based technology. So they've got robotics that assemble the car. So did you see what I mean? We're explaining how technology is used in the creation of a product, in the production of a product. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah, and I can see Jaden is sort of giving an example that's here. Now, when there isn't a scenario to use, and there usually is, then it's often good to maybe even use little mini case studies in there, okay, or examples. You don't have to, and you haven't here, Jaden, it's still good, all right? But usually have the mindset that you're linking it to, if it's an airline industry scenario, we've got to link it to that type of technology. Anina, does that make sense? Joe, does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense, guys, say, no, don't get it still. Thanks, Anina. Yep, okay. But this is the whole point of it, guys. I'm not just giving you things to do. We're as a group working together on this. And I'll probably post this to the other teachers as well, to give to their kids, because this is a very useful exercise. How do we boost our marks up a couple of marks? Now, remember, it's a 4-mark question. So there's not lines there, but it progressively gets more and more. Yeah. What Jaden's done is good there, but you're going to need a lot more information for a 4-marker. You've got to have the best answer out of all of the kids in the course. And then when you do your HSC, you got to have the best answers out of most of the kids in the state. Yeah. And it's probably a little bit harsh, but I remember one of my mates who came 4th in the state in business studies. Certainly wasn't me. But the teacher said to him, listen, I won't say the name of my mate, but listen, these people in this class, in this school, they're not your competition. All right. Your competition is when you do your HSC exam and you're versing the rest of the state. So don't get pressured, but in your mind, your answers need to be detailed and they need to be some of the better ones, in the state, not the top 10 or anything, but they need to be, when the marker looks at it, not just competing with our kids, but with everyone around the state. Okay. What else can you add? How much more detail can you put in? Now, who's asked that one there? Yeah, look, I won't, Benny, because I will check yours for some other ones. All right, but I want to sort of mix it up. In fact, I will check yours for this one, Benny, and I'll go for Jaden's the next one. I should ask specifically. But I don't care who's the top, who's the bottom in our class, guys. I'll be looking at all your answers at some stage. Because we can equally learn from those students who aren't so good at what needs to also be done. All right, so guys, stop here and have a look at the Zoom, and definitely don't just keep going ahead, because it's important that you're looking at what we're talking about, what we're discussing. Yeah, maybe in chat you guys can throw up some extra things that I might have missed. Okay, at this stage now, I've got kids in our class that are brighter than me. I've got many kids that are dumber than me. Yeah, so you guys should know your content as well as what a teacher kind of knows the content. All right. And when I'm giving answers, they should be really good answers, but there also should be a couple of kids who'll be able to almost in some ways give some better answers for certain things. So please, if you've got something to add, please do so. Yeah. All right. Explain 2 applications of technology used to create a product. At a quick glance, I'm thinking that's probably about the right amount. You wouldn't want any less. It's hard to sort of tell. And I wish we were in class because we'd use the actual lines when we're writing to get a better idea. Right, let's have a look here. Technology is advanced machinery utilized in a business to increase speed or allow for quality. Yeah. Okay, good. So you start off with a definition. I like that. And that's kind of what you're asking, Anina. I think that's a good formula. Definition first. New technology is allowed for wider communications on a global scale, blah, blah, blah. Yep, that's good. And I'm reading everything. You guys can see it too. Now it's asking for 2 examples here and you to explain how they're using in the production process. An example of widespread communication would be e-commerce, book depository, which utilize the advancement in computer databases. Yep, good. So this one here, where's it start? So you got one example here. An example of widespread communication would be e-commerce industries. such as book depository. I don't know what they are, but sure. Which utilise advancement in computer databases, which allow for businesses to allow for online purchasing and notice of when their product is being purchased, no matter where the consumer is. Yeah, I think so. We're sort of seeing here explain. So tell me exactly how this technology is used to create the product. Probably. The advancement of machinery for companies like Apple can allow for faster production of iPhones at high quality standards that will remain consistent, which overall can allow business to gain competitive advantage. Yeah, so see here, the first one's probably right, but this one's a bit more of a tangible thing to look at. What technology? Do you know? So I'd give you 3 out of 4, I reckon, here, Benny, because I'm looking here and I'll look at the market criteria in a second. And I'm just going to make a comment here. What specific technology? And you sort of did a little bit better in the first one there. So we're talking about what would it be? And this is where you've got to put yourself in the mind of what they're making. So it would be advanced robotics. What would be improved assembly lines, computer assembly lines. It could be computer aided design and manufacturing. Okay, and I'm not saying here, but even the introduction of 3D printing. So that's probably not 3D printing for this particular example, Benny. But you're missing, I think, tell me in chat if you get what I mean, Benny. You're kind of missing the example that's there. All right. You did the explanation, which was good. That was really good. Faster methods of production. Yeah. Yep. Okay. And not to say you wouldn't get 4, but I think I'd give 3 out of 4. Yeah. All right, guys, let's go on with the next one. And if you've got questions, guys, please ask. And take screenshots if you want to get ideas from students and things as we go. But remember, guys, I'm going to upload this. So, you know, you can feel free to have a look at it. I think I might even put it on my YouTube site too, so that you guys can look at it at any time and find it pretty easy. We'll see how we go. Yeah. All right. Next one we've got here is using 2 examples. Now, question, I want it in chat. Is this looking at operations again? Could it be? Maybe. Is there potential it might be operations? In chat, yes or no? No, that's right. It can't be because it's the next question. Yeah. It's got to be a different business function. Using 2 examples. And look, in a HSC, they might change something some year. So use your brain and think about it. But every year I've seen, different questions are different business functions. So let's look at the question. Using 2 examples, again, look at the number it says. And this is a bit obscure. They usually have scenarios. Look at the HSC to get ideas. Outline a method of conducting primary research. So you've got your 2 types of research. We're not looking at secondary. We're looking at that maybe later. We're looking, no, we're not. We're looking at primary. And there's specific examples from the textbook you need to use. All right, off you go for me. And guys, from the last question, if you can see on my screen here, there was some sort of examples that they gave there. Yeah. But this is not the length we need. All right. So sample answers are usually just ideas. All right. So you needed what Benny had in terms of depth. Okay, quick question. Harry said that his internet is very laggy. That may not just be Harry's. Is this really laggy at the moment for everybody else, or is it okay? Okay, cool. All right. And that's fine, Harry. Mine gets laggy too. It's everybody now in lockdown, all using the internet at the same time. Just do your best, yeah? And remember, I'm going to upload this for everybody to see, but all these questions are going to have to be completed. Okay, that's no worries. Again, think about the mark allocation. In the HSC, think about the lines. I never want to see you writing less than the lines that are there unless it's an identifier. Doesn't help you now, though. Now, when you're done, guys, write done. Okay, again, once you're done, say done. All right, let's take a look at Jaden's answer using 2 examples. So definitely they want 2 examples, and they've asked for examples. So I think stronger answers may well use case studies, but you don't have to. They can have hypothetical scenarios. But remember, usually you would have something to refer to in your answer. This particular organization hasn't seemed to do that so much. All right, so using 2 examples, outline a method of conducting primary research. So good definition of primary research to start with. So primary research is research that is conducted by a business, which allows it to obtain information which may be used in their marketing strategies. Yeah, but that doesn't sort of tell me really the difference between that and secondary. I'd sort of say primary research and go back to the business studies and action textbook. That may well be it, but it's research which is conducted by the business to obtain current information, and it's things that they are doing for themselves to answer questions they want to know now. So 2 examples where it's not primary research. If you get information from another source, ABS or something, that's not primary research, it's secondary. Another example of secondary, not primary, is if you use your own information, but it was research carried out 2 years ago. So it might help you now, but it wasn't for the specific intended purpose you've got now. So I think you need to flesh that out a little bit, yeah? Now, some examples of primary research include surveys. Good. Another example, primary research includes observational research. Cool. The only thing I'd suggest here is The question asks for 2. So develop a little bit maybe your definition. I'd say one example of primary research includes surveys. All right. Now, this is a good definition of that. No problems with that, Jaden. Then a second example of primary research includes observational research. And again, no problems with your definition. I think it's pretty good. So realistically, I'd give you 3 marks. All right. Just work on your definition a little bit and ask for 2. So what's your first example? What's your second example? All right. So I'd probably say 3, but there's a little bit more work to be done there. All right. Next question. Chat. Let's see. Cool. All right. So describe 2 methods a business can use to conduct a situational analysis. So who can tell me in chat every question? What's the business function? What's the subtopic? Okay. Who can tell me what's the subtopic for this one? We all know it's marketing. What's the subtopic? Yep, good. Marketing processes. Johnny, well done. Yep. But again, I want all of you answering this, guys, when I ask a question, not just one student, please. All right, off you go for me, please. Remember, it's a full marker. There should be a fair bit of lines there. You've got to think about your answers. All right, Daniel, it looks as though you haven't done any of these questions. So you must be not here today. So you'll be marked as absent, but you need to catch up on these. So Joe, just having a look at yours, as you can see, guys, we need to work on these. All right, and I'm sure we'll come back to it and work on it here a little bit, because taking a look here, you know, that's probably going to be 2 out of 4. All right, so that's for the explain to application technology. That's the purpose of us doing this, guys. When I go and, you know, critique somebody's, I want you guys listening, and then before you start on the next one, quickly adding some notes and some extra information to your own ones. Yeah, we want to keep building upon each other. All right, I'll give you a minute or so, guys. You've got any questions, you're not sure what you're doing, you want me to break down a question, ask. But today, the purpose is not just to get through as many questions as we can. The purpose of today is to do it like it's the HSC, like it's your troll, detail. All right, Joe, we're looking at your one. Just, I'll give you enough time to be able to get it done properly. Just try and be nice and quick for us so we can get through a few of them. And in chat, Joe, can you just say done when you're done? I'll be honest, if you can't write anymore, it's okay. All right, guys, one more minute with that question, because part of it is making sure that we can do things quick enough to be able to have time for your essays as well. But you don't want to sort of, rush through it either. So balancing act. Yep, once you've finished, just say done. That's fine. 30 seconds and we're going to go through it anyhow. All right, so it looks like most people are done now. Let's go and have a look at our answers. Describe 2 methods a business can use to conduct a situational analysis. So there are only 2 things you've got here, which Joe has identified well: SWOT analysis and the, I'd say, product life cycle, which is good. Yep, okay. So excellent, SWOT analysis and product life cycle. So they're the 2 we needed. Now it's a description question. So it's not an identifier, and it's also not an outline. So it's not sketch in general terms. It's description, provide characteristic and features. Now, at a quick glance here, I'm not seeing enough detail to get 4 marks, okay? And once again, it's not about how much you write, but you need to be able to write enough to be able to describe rather than just to outline, yeah? If you write a lot and it's not going to be a description, well, you're not getting the marks either. All right. So a situation analysis is used to examine its current position within the market to see how business is traveling or where it needs to strategically go in the future. Yeah, I'd start off with a definition, and I think that's reasonably good. All right. Now, the 2 methods of situational analysis we went through, they're both good. So firstly, SWOT analysis is used to examine the strengths, the weaknesses of a business, as well as the opportunities and threats which lie within its external environments. Yeah, see here, That's an outline. Yeah. So you need to say something like, there are internal strengths and weaknesses of a business in which a business has a great deal of control over, and the external elements includes those opportunities and the threats where a business has little to no control over. Then provide an example of what a strength is, i.e. the owner's experience. Provide an example of what a weakness is, because this is the characteristics and features. A weakness would be something like poor culture within the workplace. Yeah. All right. Now, in terms of opportunities and threats, we can talk about opportunities being technology. All right. And whereas an external threat could be something like globalization and increasing competitors into the marketplace. Yeah. So I really do want you guys to listen. And I know when teachers and other people gibber on, you sort of lose interest quickly. But the purpose of doing today is we're looking at what you're writing and what you need to write to get band 6. Okay, I hope it's helping. Now, the second part of it, while the product life cycle refers to stages in which the products of a business goes through in its lifetime, good. These include introduction, growth, maturity, and decline stage, and good because it's the product life cycle in terms of marketing, not the business life cycle. But once again, I reckon I'd actually draw that little diagram. I wouldn't do a lot of diagrams in business studies, but I probably would. Takes 2 seconds, you know, the thing. And then I would explain, what does, because this again, Joe, and I'm rubbishing your answer, but I shouldn't be. It's not a bad answer. I'd probably give it 2 or 3, and I'll look at the mark criteria in a second. But you've got to not outline. You've got to now describe what is introductory stage, what do we mean by the growth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So let's have a quick squeeze at the marking criteria. Where are we? So, and again, don't think this is acceptable. You need to have more detail always in the sample answer. So provide characteristics and features of one method. And you didn't do that. No, so you didn't indicate the main features of another. So you did this, all right, but you didn't do this. Sketching in general terms, 2 features. So even though your answer was good and you knew what you're doing, I can only give you 2. All right, so lesson learned for everybody. Most of you would have only got 2 because it wanted a description of both, not an outline of both. Outline of both only gave you 2. Okay. All right, questions? All right. No, but again, Joe, please, nobody here be worried at all. How do I word this? The purpose of doing this today is to be able to sort of see where we're at and what things we need to do to improve. Yeah. That's why we do past papers. That's why I need to mark your past papers. At no stage, anybody needs to apologize so long as you're present and so long as you're doing your best. Yeah. And then we can see what, now next time, Joe, you know what you need to now include. Yeah. You know that you maybe need to do some more study to get that detail. So don't stress, mate. All right. Okay. Next one, guys, is explain. So once again, it's an explanation. All right. So they want a few benefits, a few good things about using truth and accuracy in advertising. All right. It's not just an outline. It's not just an identify and list things. So explain the benefits of truth and accuracy in advertising. Off you go for me, please. And I don't think I'm going to check individuals who are asking, guys. I'm just going to go through randomly and pick some names, but off you go. Now try and be nice and quick, guys, but do try and give decent answers. And your mindset, if you finish, think, all right, what else can I add to that? Have I answered each aspect of the question? And I guess if you have finished, you can go into the next question too. I'm going to give you about 1 minute and we'll go through Christy's answer. All right, so guys, let's have a little bit of a look at this here. It says here, explain the benefits. So an explanation, and you need to know what these directive verbs, these directive terms mean. You look it up on Google if you'd like. HSC directive verbs, directive terms, and you need to understand they're up in our room too. So what are the benefits of truth and accuracy in good advertising? So first thing I want is a definition. What does this mean? So let's see what Christy's done. Truth, accuracy, and good taste in advertising is an ethical influence, good. So you're knowing where it's coming from the syllabus, excellent. It refers to advertisements, not making exaggerated claims or vague statements, as well as not making generalizations that are grossly inaccurate. Yeah, I like this. Yeah. So pretty detailed definition to start with. It also involves not containing offensive or crude content, which is highly subjective. All right. Truth and accuracy in advertising is beneficial because the unethical practice concealed facts such as piece of information purposefully omitted from an advertisement can severely harm the trust customers have in the product or the business. Yeah, look, I'll look at what the market criteria says. It's good, but here's just a little bit brief. Explanation, how? Why would it? All right. So hopefully getting what I'm saying here a little bit, Christy. You need to break it down step by step, like the marker's an idiot and they don't understand how these things work. So provide an example of something. So, and this is where usually you'd have a scenario up here sort of thing that you would have to link to, but there is no scenario. So I'm trying to think of an example that's out there where a business has done that. But if you've got a real case study, use that and explain to the marker why it is that the business suffered, lost trust from customers. All right. Now, if they lose trust of customers, who cares? The problem is if you do the right thing, yeah, you gain trust of customers, you increase your positioning, you increase your branding, you increase your reputation, and therefore you increase what's one of the key marketing objectives we look at? Your market share, your brand awareness and your market share. So if you do not do these things, then it will result in a loss of these things. Now, looking here too, it sort of says here, explain the benefits of doing this. So it's sort of, you've done the flip side of it. If you don't do this, then you will harm the trust customers have. But I'd also need to add, I guess, on here that by acting truthfully and being accurate in your advertising, the benefits. You didn't sort of say what are the disadvantages a little bit. All right, so if I go to the marketing criteria, relate cause and effect, make the relationships between things evident, explain why, how truth and accuracy benefits the business. You didn't have that. Sketch in general terms the benefits. And see, you didn't even really do this one so much, Christy, because you were looking from the angle, the perspective of it being a negative that's there, which it would be. All right. But you need to say that if you look here, I copy this. I get where you were coming from, but let me go and change that. Thank you, Mr. Google Docs. I know I'm editing. That's what you needed to sort of talk about here, the benefits, not the disadvantages of not doing it. Look, I definitely wouldn't give you 3, although this was a really good definition. 1 or 2. Why? Maybe 1, because it said benefits, not disadvantages. And also, I want more of an explanation on why this would occur using a particular example. Does that make sense, Christy? Use a specific example to explain your answer, being from the scenario, given there wasn't a scenario, maybe a case study. Okay. All right. Next question. Outline. Now, this is sketch in general terms. Outline 2 advantages. So remember the term advantages of internal recruitment in an organization. Now, we're now looking here, guys, at HR. All right. And I can't say this enough. This is now a different question, so it's a different business function. All right. Off you go, guys. I'm going to pick somebody. I'm going to give you a minute to answer this because it's just 2. And their outline. Why use internal recruitment? Now, do keep in mind, guys, it's only 2 marks. I'm reluctant to say don't write a crazy amount because I want you to probably write too much than too little. All right. But remember, it's only worth 2 marks. So if you've got 2 questions you need to do, they're only worth a mark each. So the length you've got there's more than enough. Any more than that, you're kind of wasting your time. Yeah. All right, so guys, let's have a look at Serena's answers. So do stop what you're doing if you go into another question. And kids always have their mindset, oh, I just want to keep finishing them. This is not what today's lesson's about. All right, I don't care if we don't get through everything at the moment. It's about you learning what we did well and what you as students need to add to it. Because frankly, we do very well at passing. All right, our class at the moment. We don't necessarily do very well with short answer at excelling and getting those 4 out of 4s, those 5 out of 5s. We get the 3s out of 5s, and all of us do. Yeah. Right, but we want to get 4 and 5 out of 5s. Outline 2 advantages of internal recruitment. So remember, from HR, there's internal recruitment or external recruitment. So now it doesn't say you need a definition, but I would probably put one in. Internal recruitment refers to when an employee hires a work that is already employed in the workplace. Good. So an advantage of internal recruitment, I'd say 1. One advantage of internal recruitment is that the employee employed for the new job already has the corporate knowledge. Yeah, corporate knowledge means they understand the business, they understand what's happening. So within our school, we've had head teachers be employed who are already from our school, and we've had head teachers be employed from other schools. So an advantage is that if they already were working in our school, they knew the corporate knowledge, they knew how the school works, they knew the ins and outs of things, and that's a benefit. Good. Now, a second advantage. It asks for 2. You're not going to lose marks, but just make it simple for the marker. There's 1, there's 2. Yeah. A second advantage of internal recruitment in the business? Is it the employer? Already aware of the skills attributes of a person who gained the new position? Maybe. Give me just a second. Let's go into editing. Now, this is from the marking criteria. So this is good. That's the corporate knowledge one. Yeah, and that's what you said. They know the strengths and the weaknesses of the candidate. Good. Alternate answers two is provides opportunities for promotion. I like this one. If you never use internal recruitment, especially for promotional roles, then the workers soon learn that it's very difficult to be able to move up, near impossible in the organization. They'll lose, not respect, but they'll lose any drive they've got for it, and they'll go somewhere else. Yeah. So if you've got a principal that keeps hiring externally only, then teachers are going to go, well, I've got to go elsewhere if I want to become a head teacher or a deputy. Yeah. So I'd give you 2 out of 2 for that. Here's some other options you could choose to. All right, let's move on. Distinguish what's the difference between anti-discrimination and equal employment opportunity. Good, I like this question. Kids often mix these two things up. So anti-discrimination and equal employment opportunity, you tell me the difference. Off you go. Or I'll go through the answer in about maybe 30 seconds a minute. Just a quick question again, guys, because my internet has been a bit dodgy. Is it smooth enough at the moment or is it quite laggy? Can you please just comment in the chat? And with all these things, guys, don't just leave it up to one person. I want to see 16 students saying an answer. Okay, that's good. Excellent. All right, so let's go through our answer here. Distinguish. Now, again, this is called a directive term, a directive verb. So what's the difference between anti-discrimination and equal employment opportunity? So it doesn't want just definitions of it. It wants you to be able to define each really, but then to tell me the clear difference between the two, because students often just link them as one, because they're both good things in the fact that we're trying to promote inclusion and we're trying to allow all people to be treated the same. That's the similarities. But this question's, what are the difference? Tell me the differences. Yeah. Now it's worth 4 marks. So at a quick glance here, is this enough? Potentially, but just. Yeah. So if it's done well, that's probably could be worth 4 marks, but I wouldn't want anything less. Yeah. Right. Anti-discrimination laws prohibit discrimination in the workplace on the grounds of gender, blah, 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 blah. Good. So a little definition. This can fall under legislation of, yeah, I didn't even think of this myself. I don't think this was in the answer. All right, Nina, this is really good. You want something that other kids aren't going to have. So your legislation there. Well done. It also protects workers from family. Okay, that's good. All right, so similarly, yeah, but remember, that's not what the question's asking, but let's see how we're going with it. The equal employment opportunity looks at the freedom from discrimination on the basis of protected classes. Disability discrimination provides equal employment. Okay, so I think you already know what my concern here is a little bit. You've defined both, but you've not distinguished. You've not done what the directive term says. Now, a lot of kids don't get the difference between the two. I'm just going to give a very brief explanation. So anti-discrimination is about treating people equally, spell right, regardless of race, gender, etc. All right. And let's make sure I spell anti. So you can't be racist or sexist. All right. Not typing too well today. Now, equal employment opportunity takes things further. All right, a step further is about treating all people, let's say all workers, because it is about workers fairly and equally, except for one thing. Now, specifically in relation to the hiring, the promotion, and the separation or firing of employees. So let's just fix up my little poor spelling. So if we're giving a couple examples between the difference, distinguish. If I'm saying something like, I don't like that dude because he's a white guy, I hate white people, then that's discrimination. Yeah. If I'm saying I don't like that, I don't like women all suck, they've got tiny brains, men are far smarter, then that again is discrimination. That's under anti-discrimination. If I'm a deputy principal and I'm treating someone differently in relation to the workplace because of their gender, their religion, their sexual, not sexual status, but their marital status, their sexual preference, those things, then that's equal employment opportunity. So I'm a DP. I choose not to hire somebody because they're male. All right, that's equal employment opportunity. I've got to fire somebody, or I just want to fire somebody because they're of a Buddhist background. That would be equal employment opportunity. So your answer there, I'll look at the mark I'll give, but it won't be all that high because you didn't distinguish, Alina. All right. Anti-discrimination is about treating people right in terms of, different races the same, different genders the same, but equal employment opportunity takes it a step further, and it's about hiring, promoting, firing within the workplace. Yeah. Now, there's one extra thing that's here in terms of equal employment opportunity. It's where you almost treat somebody unequal. In the past, women have not been given a fair go. So there's a thing called affirmative action, which means that you might have a quota. And if you're going to hire 10 new people, and let's say it can be the opposite. In primary school, potentially, because there's not many male teachers, if you're going to hire 10 new teachers, you might make 6 or 7 of them have to be male to try and redress that imbalance. In the mining industry, part of equal employment opportunity, again, it's not being fair. You might say, right, out of 10 new mining positions, we're going to hire 7 females and 3 males only. All right, but keep it simple. This here is about just general discrimination. This is about for specific things, hiring, firing, and the promotion of workers, promoting them or not based on their ethnicity, based on their gender, etc. Okay. All right. Just a chat message here. Yep. In a little bit, I will. Okay, Benny. Right. So let's look at the marking criteria as to what I would have given you, though, because we're stuck and we're bound by the marking criteria. So recognize, indicate being distinct or direct from. So I can't give you 3 because you're not told me the difference. Sketch in general terms. Yeah, I might be able to give you 2. I probably could give you 2. All right, because it doesn't say here distinguish or the difference. So I'd only give you 2, and it's a shame because it's not a terrible answer, but it's not answering the question. Okay. All right, guys, let's keep moving on. Now, evaluate the role of maintenance in the human resource management process. Off we go nice and quick for me, please. And Benny, remind me at the end, I'll have a look at that one for you. Yeah, but I won't do that now. Now, it's only worth 4 marks. And I say only because it is an evaluate question, which is high level. So you got to think about the lines, the marks, and the directive term, the directive verb. All right. So it's going to want more than a description. I'm just looking at the marking criteria here at the moment. So I want to see a judgment based on criteria. If you don't have criteria, you're not getting 4 guaranteed. So we know our criteria. We're looking at HR. Our criteria is the HR effectiveness criteria for us. It's what we use at our school to evaluate whether a business would be effective in this or not. Okay. Yep, you do. 100% Benny, good. So on the same page. So I'm not going to tell you too much more. All right, we're going to have a look here at Nick's in a second. And I want to also make you remember those suggested answers are just teachers putting them in there. Some things teachers do better than your teacher. Some things I can guarantee some of them do not do better than what I do. I look at it and I go, that's incorrect, or that's not really a band 6 answer. Okay. And almost always their answers are simplistic. They're often just a copy of the syllabus and chucked in there. So, they're just identifying. So don't ever think those answers are sufficient enough when you're looking at 4, 5, 6 markers. All right, nice and quick for me, please, Nick, and I'll give you a minute, and then we'll go through that. All right. Now I'm just going to keep typing, Nick. I'm just going to go through this because we're running out of time here, guys. But you can imagine, in terms of your HSC, how long is this taking you to do? How long have you done proper detailed answers? You don't get 5 hours to answer your questions. So you've got to really know your stuff, so you don't have to think about it too much to be able to get it done properly, because you want to write more than enough that you need for short answer, but also give you enough time to do those essays and give yourself as much time as possible with them. Yeah. So it says evaluate the role of maintenance in HR management process. Well, what is maintenance? Okay, so the role of maintenance is to provide, keep writing, Nick, safe working conditions and work environments to motivate staff to be increasingly productive, gain satisfaction from their work, and remain loyal to the firm. Yep. The only thing I'd say here is you're evaluating it here. I'd say to be able to have high levels of worker satisfaction, to be able to reduce days of absenteeism, to be able to minimize staff turnover. You've kind of got a criteria here, Nick, but the criteria I want you to use, yeah, and you're sort of doing it down there a little bit, that's fine, yeah. It includes monetary, yep, and I think it does include monetary and definitely non-monetary rewards and compensation. I want you to use the term a remunerations package. Now, let me go and explain this here. Now, a remunerations package is what you get paid in terms of your wage or your salary, plus your on cost as well. Remunerations package. Right, so that's the monetary component of it. Yeah. So I get paid my teacher's salary, plus also my superannuation, plus the additional on cost of holiday pay, maternity leave, paternity leave, and so on. Yeah. Yeah, look, we're running out of time, so I'm going to fast track this. I'd probably give that 4 out of 4 the way you're going, Nick. I think that's pretty good. Yeah, because you are evaluating it. Yeah, and you've said what it is. I quite like that. My concern with this paper is I've never seen a whole paper, which is fine because it's still good, where there is no scenarios. You need to link these to the scenarios. I should have checked that before I gave it to you. All right. Because where a lot of your losing marks is, you're just doing what Nick's doing here, which is great, but you're not linking it to a scenario. You couldn't do it, Nick, because it wasn't there. All right. Okay, so guys, we've got 1 more minute to go. So what I want us to do quickly now is all pop on to the next bit here, the finance ones. I want us to figure out these ratios. We should have started with finance. And I think I might just talk you through what to put here, and then we're going to finish up. So calculate and comment on the liquidity. Right, you need to figure out the liquidity, which is the current assets compared to current liabilities for 2013 and 2014. So I need the working out, but I also need you to say it as a sentence, i.e., if it's 2 to 1, there is $2 of current assets for every $1 of current liability. I'm just making up an answer here. Yeah. In 2014, it's 1 to 1. There is $1 of current assets for every $1 of current liabilities. So figuring out, say both as a sentence, and then therefore the business is becoming less liquid because it had more current assets compared to current liabilities in this year compared to that. That's not the answer because I'm guessing, but that's how you'd have to say it. Yeah. Next one, calculate and comment on the gearing. Same deal. I'm making up an answer here, but this is what you'd include. Let's say it was in 2013, the gearing ratio was 200% or 2 to 1. In 2014, the gearing ratio was 100% or 1 to 1. That means that for 2013, there was 200. What was it? There was 200% means that there is 2 times as many liabilities as there was equity. Yeah. Or for every $2 of liabilities, there is $1 of equity. In 2014, where it was 100%, we would say for every $1 of liability, there is $1 of equity. Yeah. Then we need to say the business has become more solvent, less insolvent, because they have now got more equity compared to liabilities. And the last one here, recommend 2 strategies for managing working capital. You would need to explain them and tell me why I should use 2 working capital strategies. And we've got things like control of current assets, control of current liabilities, and we've got sales and lease back. Pretty sure off the top of my head, they're the working capital strategies. Yep. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're the ones that we've got. All right, guys, thank you for today's lesson. Your homework for next Wednesday is to finish these 2 short answers off. The first 5 students who tell me they've done the one we did today and the other one, right, I will give feedback to, but try and do it in some detail. Yep. See you later, guys. Sorry for keeping you back for a couple of minutes. Goodbye.